Pretty Girl Club. So today we're going to talk about what causes an inferiority complex. And my answer to that is micro-insecurities. Micro-insecurities are these teeny tiny insecurities that start small, but over the course of years and decades of repeating these things to yourself or reinforcing these insecurities, you end up developing an entire inferiority complex. So for example, anybody who gets mad that you think you're cute, that is a person with an inferiority complex, because something as simple as you thinking that your skin tone is inherently beautiful, it triggers their thousands of micro insecurities that they have built up over the course of 30 years. So for example, you know how I talk about privilege stacking on here? I talk about creating multiple streams of validation. For some people, they don't know how to social climb. They don't know about psychology. They don't know about sociology. They're not introspective. And so instead of spending their entire lives building confidence and building multiple streams of positive validation, they have accidentally spent their entire life reinforcing insecurities or literally living out generational curses. So much so to the point where something as simple as naming your YouTube channel Exoticals United has now triggered their insecurities. So these are the types of people where they get outraged very easily. Why are they outraged so easily? Why do they get so angry? Well, it's because they have thousands of micro insecurities and they are so triggered by literally every little thing. You can't use the word pretty. You can't use the word light skin. You can't use the word kinky or coily or nappy or whatever. Like all it takes is one word and then all of their insecurities associated with that word are just going to jump out and they're going to get extremely upset and emotionally dysregulated because they don't know how to regulate their own emotions, number one, but you can't. To be fair, it is impossible to emotionally regulate yourself if your mind is filled with tens of thousands of micro insecurities. Imagine hating every feature about yourself from head to toe. You don't like your eyes, you don't like your nose, you don't like your skin, you don't like your hair, you don't like your personality, you don't like your teeth. That's exhausting. And so that is actually the cause of inferiority complex. It's a bunch of micro insecurities that have stacked up in a person's psyche over the course of decades. So these are the people who are mentally undisciplined. So maybe they've never learned how to have a positive mindset, or they've never learned like how to take control of their own thoughts, how to control their own perception of themselves. They don't know how to build their own self-image. And so because of that, they have an external locus of control. And so if they see somebody like you who has a positive self-image, you're going to piss them off because they feel like, wait a minute, that's not fair. She must think she's better than me. And that's because they don't have nuance in their mindset. They think that thinking you're pretty means that you think you're prettier than her. And also when it comes to that, it's like, okay, even if somebody does think that they are prettier than me, so what? Like seriously, if I'm in school or if I'm around some random white girls or something, let's say I'm around some white girl and she's racist and she thinks she's prettier than me because I'm a person of color. Now what? Me getting angry is not going to stop her from being racist. Me getting angry would not make that girl more insecure. In fact, I would actually reinforce her mindset by getting angry because she would be thinking in her mind most likely, oh wow, I've really triggered her. I really triggered her insecurities. What does that word even mean, triggered? A trigger is a response caused by a particular action, process, or situation. So what it means is you have triggered a memory in that person. So if you think you're pretty and maybe that person thinks they're ugly and you say that you think you're cute, you have triggered a negative memory that that person has. So what causes micro insecurities? It's a series of a whole bunch of negative memories, a whole bunch of negative experiences. Maybe that person has a toxic family. Maybe they come from a really bad family, or, they just come from a bad background to where they have built up these micro insecurities. So the way that I see it is ages 18 and below, you can blame your parents. But ages 18 and above, you are now an adult. So it's now your job to go back and do the cleanup work of, the damage that maybe your parents or your environment has left you. Because everybody has pros and cons with the way that they were raised. But for a lot of people who don't know how to privilege stack and they don't know how to validate themselves and stuff, they are kind of mentally stuck in their childhood. They are mentally stuck in their traumas. And so instead of privilege stacking, they're trauma stacking. Instead of building multiple sources of micro validation, they're building multiple sources of micro insecurities. And so the reason that I set boundaries around my beauty, for example, is because I don't want to end up creating a new micro insecurity. So I've talked to you guys about how if I do wear wigs, my rules, my boundary for myself with wigs is number one, I cannot glue them on because I just feel like if I were to use that wig bond glue, which I've never tried, I just feel like that would probably rip out my edges. And so by using the bond glue on the edges of my hair, I'm actually creating a new micro insecurity because my edges are going to be ripped out when I take off the wig. So, but a lot of women, they don't think these things through. So they will do things that cause insecurities. Maybe you're wearing makeup that's bad for your skin. It's clogging your pores, and you know that it clogs your pores, but because you don't want to be seen without makeup, you'd rather clog your pores than to just take care of the acne. So for some women who are not strategic with what they do, like they're not strategic with their beauty hobbies, and so it actually creates new insecurities. And so that's why I say that when you are choosing your beauty hobbies, make sure to pick beauty hobbies that are actually improving your natural beauty, or you pick beauty hobbies where it's not harming your natural beauty. So for example, my hair, that's a part of my natural beauty. So I would never put glue or anything on my hair that is going to rip it out. Like if I know that something's going to rip my hair out over time, I'm not going to do that because that's going to be a new micro insecurity. If I have no edges, I know that I would be insecure about that. And so I'm not going to introduce that into my life. But for the women with inferiority complexes, they were not strategic with the way that they carried themselves. And so they did all of these things, or maybe they were followers, they just followed whatever the trends were. They followed all the beauty trends, even if that trend didn't work for them. And then they end up developing these micro insecurities because they're like, oh shit, wigs rip my hair out, and I just spent the past 5 years wearing them. Oh shit, dyeing my hair, that damages my hair, and I still spent the past 5 years doing it because I was trying to fit in. And so you want to think about your beauty hobbies, and you want to think to yourself, are any of my beauty hobbies ruining my beauty? Because remember, a beauty enhancement should just be an enhancement. I don't want it to be a beauty replacement. So another example is I just got my lashes done last week. So my boundary with getting my lashes done is number one, I got the natural looking lashes, like just the classic ones, because that way when the lashes fall off eventually, or when I stop getting them, I'm not going to feel insecure like, oh my God, I look like a different person. And then another boundary that I set for myself is I will use some sort of lash serum on my natural lashes to make sure that as the lashes fall out, that it's not taking out my eyelashes with it. And I know that some people might think, oh, but that means your lashes aren't going to last as long. Okay, so be it. I would rather have my lashes not last long than to have my lashes last forever and they're super thick, but now I'm dependent upon them because I accidentally created a new micro insecurity with my own beauty hobbies. So for a lot of unambiguous Black women, unfortunately, a lot of the beauty hobbies that some of them use are creating new micro insecurities because, you're ripping out your hair in order to put on someone else's hair. Like, it would be different. I do feel like I wouldn't feel as bad if I was putting on my hair texture. Like, let's say I'm putting on a wig and it's still my hair texture, but I would kind of feel bad though, just being honest. For me, I would feel bad if I'm ripping out my edges just to put on a different hair texture that looks nothing like me or anybody in my immediate family. And then it doesn't even look natural when I put it on. And then everybody still knows that it doesn't look natural. Oh no, because I'm not, at that point, I'm not gaining any social status. I'm not gaining any pretty privilege. I'm not gaining anything. So I'm literally just creating a micro insecurity. That is not strategic. That is not how you utilize psychology to your advantage. And so a part of deconstructing an insecurity, which is really just a small thing that you're insecure about, it could be your knees. Like one girl that I heard on YouTube, she was talking about how her family members commented on her elbows and knees being darker than the rest of her body. I can't remember who that was. It was an Exotical. If it was you, you can comment down below. But for example, if that is one of your micro insecurities, that's something that's very small, right? Your elbows and knees are a small part of your body, but you want to think to yourself, okay, what caused this micro insecurity? I know that for me personally, if I have dark elbows and knees, it does cause a micro insecurity. And that is because my internalized beauty standard for complexion is to have an even complexion. Like for my whole body, I want my whole body to be the same skin tone or to be as close to the same skin tone as possible. I know that it's normal to have lighter parts of your body and darker parts, but for my personal self-confidence, it is a form of self-validation if I were to put on lotion or, put on whatever spot treatments I need to put on so that my skin looks perfect. So the way that I would deal with that micro insecurity of my elbows and knees not matching is I would look online. I would try to look up, like, can I get some shea butter or something to kind of heal those dry spots? Like, what caused this to happen? Is it because of my workouts? By the way, this is something that I've actually dealt with, dark elbows and knees. Part of it is because of my workouts. I do a lot of workouts on my elbows and knees. I do planks. That's on my elbows. So my elbows are like rubbing up against a hard floor, or they're rubbing up against the gym floor or a yoga mat that is not very soft. Same thing with going on my hands and knees. I get on all fours when I'm doing my workouts and stuff. So I do kickbacks and stuff at the gym, and I go to the gym every day. And so all of those types of things are causing friction on my elbows and knees. And so to help get rid of that micro insecurity, I can come up with a beauty hobby that helps to heal and nourish my skin, but it's also like a part of my natural beauty. So for example, putting on makeup to cover my knees or putting on makeup to cover my elbows, I'm actually creating a new micro insecurity by putting makeup on it because I didn't solve the problem. I just tried to cover the problem. And so for me personally, my little confidence boost, it wouldn't boost my confidence because, and I've actually tried this in real life, and I never did it again because when I put the makeup on my knees, now I had a new micro insecurity, which is if I go out in the heat and I'm sweating, then I'm going to have makeup running down my knees or running down my elbows. So instead of me curing the micro insecurity, I accidentally created a new one. And so I figured out the way to solve it is to just simply go on Amazon, purchase one of those $5 or $10 creams where it's like for your elbows or knees, or get like some shea butter or something that's deeply nourishing. You can take some glutathione, some vitamin C. You can take some NAC. Those types of things will help to heal those areas. And that's the real way that you get rid of the micro insecurity. So I want you to think to yourself, what are my solutions to my micro insecurities? And also, what are the small things that I'm insecure about? Is it my body? And if so, what about my body am I insecure about? Oh, okay, my weight. So why am I insecure about my weight? Oh, okay, it's because my ideal size for myself is a size small, and I'm a size extra large. Okay, so now you know that instead of squeezing into a small, because, that's not going to help you to feel better, you might feel good temporarily by seeing a size small on the shirt, like when you put it on, like, ooh, I put on a size small, but then you're actually creating a new insecurity if you look in the mirror, and then you see that you're like bulging out of it. And so I also believe that when it comes to your beauty hobbies and your solutions, that you want to find actual solutions that get rid of the micro insecurities. And now I want to talk about if you're insecure about something that you can't change or something that's more permanent. So let's say you have 4C hair, and that is one of your micro insecurities. Okay, you want to ask yourself, what makes you insecure about 4C hair? Is it the texture of your hair? Is it the time that it takes to do it? Is it the length of it? Is it the fact that it doesn't stretch out or something? You want to be able to pinpoint what the exact insecurity is so that you can kind of figure out a solution. So let's say you don't like the tightness of your hair texture and you're like, hey, my internalized beauty standard is having 3C hair instead of 4C, and I wasn't born with 4C hair, so does this mean I hate myself? Insecurities, in my opinion, insecurity is actually different from self-hate. I believe that self-hate is a more extreme version of insecurities. So for example, self-hate would be, I'm actually abusing my hair because I hate it so much. Like I just get so angry that I literally just want to chop off my hair. I want to rip my hair out of my head. I'm dreading doing the wash day because my hair's so ugly. Self-hate is when you have more of a passionate hatred against that particular feature. So you wake up in the morning, you're like, oh my God, I have to deal with my fucking hair again. You're saying comments like that to yourself. I would say the more extreme, that is more like self-hate, because you're consistently showing hatred within your own psyche. And by the way, if you are suffering from self-hate from certain things, one thing that I've actually learned is that if I hate a certain aspect of myself, it's going to be very difficult for me to change it or overcome whatever it is. So I have actually suffered from self-hate in terms of my body. So anytime I gain weight, in the past, I used to get super upset. I would beat myself up. I'd be like, oh my God, why did I eat that cheeseburger? Why did I eat that soul food? Of course, the minute I eat some cornbread and some ham hocks, suddenly my thighs are exploding. I have thunder thighs. So I noticed that whenever I was coming from a place of self-hate, I never lost weight. I never had the motivation to work out because I was already discouraging myself by talking to myself like that. So one of the ways that I overcame self-hate was to change my inner voice, kind of change my self-talk, and to practice radical self-acceptance. So for example, let's say I gain weight. Let's say I'm 200 pounds or something like that. Instead of me getting pissed off at myself, I will say, hey, you know what? I'm thick, but I'm still cute though. So you know what? I'm going to go on my hot girl walk with my thick booty. I'm going to go out here and climb this mountain with my big ass, and I'm going to look cute while I'm doing it. So I always try to use encouraging language, and I'm just talking about the way that I talk to myself in my own mind. I try to encourage myself and let myself know, hey, I still accept you as you are. I try to practice radical self-love and radical self-acceptance, and then from there, I start experimenting. So I will experiment with different workouts. So let's say you're having this problem with like 4C hair. You can experiment with different, it could be conditioners, it could be hair treatments, it could be, I don't know, rinses or something that detangles your hair naturally. It could be keeping it in a stretched state or something that helps you to get over whatever self-hatred you have, and kind of experimenting and seeing what works. So what I also do though is I will give myself a timeline. Like, okay, I will give myself 1 year to lose this weight. And if I do not lose the weight within 1 year, I'm going to opt for something else. I'm going to do laser lipo. And I know that that's where my points of view become controversial, because for some people, they only believe in natural beauty, or they only believe in like staying the way you were naturally born. I don't believe that you have to stay the way that you were naturally born, as long as you're not doing it out of self-hate. So if you're simply doing something because you've already tried the other methods, then I actually think it's okay for some women to do something different. So in the example of weight loss, I noticed that my metabolism is not as fast as it was in my 20s. So instead of me hating my body, I decided to work out. And then let's say I worked out for a long time and then I didn't get to spot treat the fat in those particular areas, and maybe my body still doesn't look exactly how I want it to look, then I will start looking towards non-invasive methods, or kind of like methods that are minimally harmful to change my body. So maybe I'll go get laser lipo, maybe I will go get a massage. So you can do that with any part of your body, but like I said, as long as you're still coming from a place of self-acceptance, I actually do not see anything wrong with trying different methods to overcome the micro-insecurity. But another thing you want to do though, if you are considering changing yourself, and when I say changing yourself, what I mean is you're using something outside of yourself to fix a micro-insecurity. You want to be able to explain to yourself why you are insecure about that thing. And usually this comes down to honesty. So you have to be able to be honest to yourself and admit to yourself, oh, hey, you know what? This body type, this does not meet my own internalized beauty standard. So for example, that's something I had to admit to myself. So even though I don't hate myself when I'm fat, if I'm a little bit chunky, I don't hate myself. I'm not like depressed or like, oh my God, I hate this. Oh, fuck this. No, I'm not like that. But I also had to admit this, I'm not meeting my own internal beauty standard, and I feel more confident when I am meeting my internal beauty standard. And so I'm willing to sacrifice some of my natural beauty, which is my, I don't know, just going to the gym and stuff. I'm willing to sacrifice some of the natural stuff so that I can get the laser lipo or go to a sauna or something to lose the weight, because I would rather meet my internal beauty standard than not meet it. So for some people, they have to kind of choose the lesser of two evils in a sense. And by the way, this is a part of life. So all the people that try to go against you and say, oh, well, no, you shouldn't do that. Dieting is bad or makeup is bad. If you wear makeup, it means you hate your face. If you wear a weave, it means you hate your hair. Well, not necessarily. I mean, for some people, yes, it does. But for other people, they are actually curing the micro insecurity. But the only person who knows the answer to that is you. And so, unfortunately, it's hard for me to be able to give you a one-way answer because there really is no right or wrong. Everybody has their own standard for what's okay to do and what's not. So you have to decide within yourself, what are my beauty boundaries? Is there any beauty enhancement that I know will make me feel more insecure? So, for example, if you have 4C hair and you know that relaxing your hair will make you more insecure, then do not relax your hair. If you are fat and you know that getting lipo will make you more insecure, don't get the lipo because it means that you're going past your boundaries. So I would say as long as you are not going past your personal beauty boundaries, then you're fine. So for some people, they don't feel insecure about getting lipo. For some people, they don't feel insecure about having relaxers because they don't feel the same kind of like anger against relaxers or, against chemicals. Like for me personally, I don't dye my hair. I've never dyed my hair my entire life because it goes against my personal boundaries for my hair. The reason that I've never dyed my hair my entire life is because I do feel like it would create a micro insecurity because my hair is already fine. And so dyeing my hair, that could potentially make it thinner. And then if I get highlights or something, I've seen a lot of people where their highlights become brassy or they have to use purple shampoos. And so I feel like for me personally, coloring my hair would cause me to have a micro insecurity because then I have to keep up with the coloring and stuff and I have to keep up financially with going to the salon. And so that sounds stressful for me. Another thing is because I am going to get older one day. I don't have any gray hairs, but I do think there will come a day where maybe I will have gray hairs. And so I want my hair to still be in more of a virgin state if I do ever have to start dyeing it or something or it ever goes gray. And so I don't want to have been dyeing my hair for 25 years and then now I've got grays. So now I have to dye my hair dark again. Then I have to do the highlights again. That would create a new micro insecurity for me personally. So that's my personal beauty boundary when it comes to hair chemicals. For some people, they don't have the boundary. They can dye their hair as much as they want because they don't have the cognitive dissonance that I would have, and that is totally okay. Two things can be true at the same time. And no, I do not think you are self-hating if you dye your hair, as long as you're not dyeing your hair out of self-hate. And that's another thing, by the way. A lot of people use self-hate as a gaslighting tactic. They'll be like, oh, you hate yourself because you wear makeup. Like a lot of red pill guys will try to say stuff like that. She hates herself because she wears makeup. And it's like, wait, you technically don't know if somebody hates themselves unless you psychoanalyze them and kind of like listen to their words and kind of look at their actions. Then yes, you can make that argument. But just a random person that you don't even know, that's a little bit iffy. And so you get to be in charge of your beauty. You get to decide what are my beauty boundaries. So let's say you have 4C hair and maybe you are insecure about the tightness of your hair texture. Okay, well, does loosening your hair texture, does that go against your beauty boundaries? Because if it does, then don't do it. If it doesn't go against your beauty boundaries, okay, then you can do what you want. But if it does go against your beauty boundaries, it's actually going to create a micro insecurity because for some women, they view their hair as a representation of their blackness. And so, they have a very heavy connection to their blackness through their 4C hair texture. And so if you are one of those people, then no, you actually can't relax your hair or change it because if you do, maybe you will feel disconnected from blackness. And maybe blackness is the core piece of your identity. And so you don't want to disconnect from that. So these are all things that you have to be introspective about. For other people, their 4C hair has nothing to do with connecting to their blackness because they just view their hair as hair. I've noticed that I'm more like that when it comes to my physical appearance. It's just a body. It's just hair. It's just a skin tone. So I don't put as much weight on my hair or my skin or my eye color and all that stuff because I know my racial background or I still feel just as black or just as multiracial with or without those things. But for some people, you're not like that. and that's okay. So I would say that if representing the 4C hair texture is a really big deal for you, or if utilizing your 4C hair or pedestalizing your 4C hair is a very big deal for you, then absolutely not. You should not be perming your hair. You shouldn't be altering it at all. And so this is also a hypocrisy that I call out with the women who try to combat me on my channel, because it's like, okay, so if you truly did care about 4C hair so much, why aren't you pedestalizing and platforming your hair? So that's different than the girls who don't care about pedestalizing and platforming 4C hair. For them, they can do what they want. You know, they can relax their hair and they don't feel cognitive dissonance because they don't feel like, oh, I really, really want to uplift 4C hair, or I view this as like a really big part of my beauty. So for them, they don't care about losing their natural 4C hair texture because they're like, fuck it, it's just a hairstyle. But for some people, it's more than a hairstyle. So this is why before you do your beauty hobbies, you really want to analyze what aspects of your beauty are the most important to you. You know, are there certain things where it stands out the most and so you don't want to lose that thing? This is also why some light-skinned people do not want to get darker or get a tan. No, it's not always that they're a colorist and they hate dark-skinned people and all that crap. No, for some people, it's important to them to show off the skin tone that they were born with, which happens to be a light skin tone. Or for some people, they view their skin tone as a part of their beauty that they like to flaunt, or maybe they like that exact complexion. Same thing for chocolate people. Maybe you like your exact chocolate cherry complexion or whatever. Maybe you like that exact undertone. And so for you, you don't want to lose that piece of your identity because yes, your beauty is a piece of your identity. Yeah, I said it. And who gonna check me? Your beauty is a part of your identity because that's how you look. That's the first thing people see when they look at you. It's your beauty. So you have to decide, okay, what pieces of my beauty am I the most attached to? So with skin tones, there are some people like myself. For me personally, I'm not super attached to my skin tone. So I actually change my skin tone. So there are some years where I have tanned my skin, like a couple years ago, the past 2 years, I have tanned my skin, and this year I will not be tanning my skin because for me, I view my natural appearance as something that I can change or alter. But one thing I wouldn't do though is I don't want to be white. Like I'm not going to change my skin tone to where I become like Michael Jackson. I personally wouldn't do that. And I also am not going to tan my skin tone to become like Lupita Nyong'o. So I do still have some boundaries even with my skin tone. Like I tend to stay within, I don't know, I guess a certain range. So you get to decide what to do like with your hair texture. So do you have a certain range of hair textures you feel comfortable with? Are you the type of person where it's like, I can't wear weaves because that makes me feel more insecure? Or are you one of those people who's like, oh, it's just hair. Like I don't care what people think of me, or I don't care what it represents. No, I don't feel like I'm disappointing my daughter. Because I've heard of some women with the 4C hair thing in particular. I know of one woman, she's unambiguous and dark skinned. She had her hair permed, but her daughter was natural. And by the way, she had a black daughter who had natural 4C hair. But I noticed that the mom, she did not go natural for the sake of her daughter because she was like, no, my daughter and her self-esteem and stuff, that is separate from myself. And so I don't have to be a hair role model for my daughter. So for some people, they don't view that part of their beauty as some sort of role model. They don't view that part of their beauty as something that they have to promote. If you want to change your beauty, that's okay as long as you don't pretend to pedestalize that same thing. So for example, for me, you're never going to hear me say, oh, I think that a sandy golden skin tone is the prettiest skin tone in the whole entire world. It's prettier than all the other skin tones. Well, you're not going to hear me say that because that would actually be hypocritical because there are certain times where I'm lighter than being golden, and then there are other times where I have tanned my skin to be darker than golden. So that's hypocritical for me to try to lie and pretend this is the best skin tone in the whole world, and then behind the scenes I'm changing my skin tone. Or I'm tanning, or I'm like taking vitamin C or whatever. That's hypocritical. So that's actually a hypocrisy that I've been able to point out, especially with unambiguous women that try to come for my channel. I can point that out just immediately because I understand the psychology behind changing yourself. So you have to set your own boundaries within yourself. Am I willing to change this part of myself, or does changing this part of myself make me feel uncomfortable? So, for example, I've noticed with my beauty, one thing that I don't think I'll ever change about myself is my nose, for example, because my nose and my facial features, same thing with my lips, just anything with my face. You know how some people, they can get fillers and they can get nose jobs, or they get like a lip lift and all this stuff done to their face to where they look like a totally different person. For me personally, my face that I was born with, that is like a big part of my identity. And it's also a big part of my racial identity. I feel like my face tells the story of where I come from and stuff like that. And I'm very attached to my face. And so for that part of my beauty, I don't think I'd be willing to surgically change my whole face, because I would start to feel disconnected from who I am. Like my face and my facial features are actually a part of what defines who I am. And so I'm very attached to my face. So if I got a plastic surgery, I would wake up the next morning and I'd probably have a panic attack. And that is actually a psychological phenomenon with people who get surgeries and then they regret it. So I know that I'm the type of person that would regret like a permanent change to my face. And so for me personally, let's say I feel like I have a flaw or something like that, I would rather spend the rest of my life just dealing with that micro insecurity rather than changing it. So, but for some people, like Kylie Jenner, they're not attached to their face because they feel like, no, I am who I am on the inside, so fuck it. I can change my nose, lips, eyes, cheekbones, whatever I want to change, and I still feel like myself. And so when it comes to beauty boundaries and micro insecurities and getting rid of micro insecurities, you have to decide for yourself, what features am I super attached to where I would feel inauthentic if I changed it? And then what are some things where I don't give a fuck about changing it? So for me, like with my face, even when it comes to makeup, if my makeup is so extreme to the point where I feel like I would be unrecognizable without it, that actually passes my boundaries as well, because it makes me feel inauthentic. So I would say that if you feel inauthentic in that version of beauty, that means that you've probably created a micro insecurity. But if you do not feel fake or anything, or if you feel like, who cares if it's fake? You know, if I get fillers or whatever, I'm rocking my fillers. You know, the girls that go get some Botox and they're like, oh, I'm about to go get my Botox. I'm one of those girls, by the way. So if you feel like, oh, I'm going to get my Botox, or yeah, girl, this is my new, I don't know, I texturize my hair, or I put a fake ponytail in. I put some clip-ins in my hair. I have some braids in my hair. No, it's not my real hair, but I still feel authentic. If you're like that, then I would say it's fine, as long as you are staying within your boundaries. Then you're not creating a new micro insecurity. The micro insecurities come from feeling inauthentic. It comes from feeling like you're hiding something, or at least in my experience, that's where it's come from. But what do you ladies think? Do you have any features about yourself where you're super attached to them and you feel like changing that thing would cause a micro insecurity? Or are you one of those people that's like, I could change into a whole new person tomorrow and I don't care? What do you ladies think? Let me know in the comment section and I'll talk to you next time. Stay pretty, ladies.